Have you ever wondered what would happen if suddenly a devastating storm came without warning, destroying everything around them, and to put his life on the line? Looks like a scene from the film, but it is sometimes a fact that may surprise us in ways we could not have foreseen. And what would you do if, in the midst of the chaos, the only person who was there to protect his family, to be a dog? It may seem like a story of the film is dramatic, but it really happened, and what happened after that is something that will touch your heart. Stay with me until the very end, because this is the story of courage, loyalty, and unconditional love. It deserves to be heard of, reflected on, and shared. Have you ever gone through something like this, or know of someone who has been faced with a desperate situation? So get ready, because you're going to find out right now might surprise you in a way you never thought possible. Imagine the scene. So it's difficult, but it is exactly in those moments there is an increased risk that the essence of the pet itself. One day, a routine, a quiet, a happy family taking care of the baby, but the dog is always on the side as an essential part of that routine. In the house, she was at peace with the laughter, the toys are scattered on the floor, and the smell of home-cooked food in the air. Everything seemed to be normal until the silence was broken by the siren of an emergency, the spooky sound of the strong wind and the dark sky that was fast approaching. At that moment, the feeling of despair took over, while the locals were trying to protect themselves, searching for shelter, and hope it will pass soon. For the parents, with your heart in your hand, you tried to reach for the baby, but the weather was against them. It was as if the universe were conspiring against you, and in that moment, the forces of nature seemed to be higher than any of the protection of human health. And it was precisely at this moment that something extraordinary had happened. The dog, a friend of the family, and he showed a courage that few of them could have imagined. Without a moment's hesitation, he went straight to the bedroom, oblivious to the danger that was approaching. Her steps are quick and decisive, was that he had an instinct for self-protection that is going beyond what any person would be able to understand it. In the midst of chaos, it has found a new baby, come to terms with it, and with a determination to be brave and put the child in her own body. In that instant, all the power of that animal is revealed to be, as the tornado destroyed the walls and windows, and this house was invaded by a destructive force. And there, at the time of the destruction of the dog, remained motionless, a real tower of protection, and experiencing it all for the safety of his small friend, a human being. And with the ground shaking under their feet, and the wind is biting and trying to boot it all around, he was there, a presence, a firm, almost like an anchor of hope in the midst of the chaos. The connection between them seemed to be stronger than any force of nature, an expression of pure love and loyalty that goes beyond words. Little by little, the deafening roar of the tornado began to fade, as if the very force of nature and had been for the courage of that being, who, without a moment's hesitation, he put the lives of others before his own. And in that moment of silence, almost sacred, a sense of relief took over, as they will hold together, taking a deep breath after the storm. If this story has touched your heart, please leave it here in the comments, what she is made for you. Please share your own experiences in the difficult moments, people, and animals that taught the true meaning of strength and protection. Your support makes a big difference, because it is through them that we can create a community that is strong, is united by a sense of empathy and hope. And of course, even if you believe that this is the type of content that deserves to continue, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, you will help to spread a message of courage and of love, and it ensures that more stories like this to inspire other people. Here, every comment, every like, it's a step for us to reach out further, to bring hope to those who need to hear it, even in the most extreme situations, and the love and the protection you always find a way to prevail. And the story isn't over yet, so much more lies ahead of you. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the day that we are making shows more than just words of encouragement or stories to them. It touches on something much more important, the transformation that takes place when you've decided to look beyond the surface, when we allow ourselves to delve into the essence of the people and to understand the impact that our actions can have on the lives of others. It is as if each and every action, each and every word word of support. It is a seed that can flourish in a radical change, not only in the routine of a person, but in your mind, in your way of looking at the world and yourself. And to this, many, many times it happens behind the scenes where the details are that it often goes unnoticed. It is, in the routine of the day, your decisions. The more powerful person shows. A word spoken with a sincerity, a look of understanding, a word of caution. These are small actions that, taken together, they create a chain of impact that reverberates in the lives of those who receive it, often without even realizing it. And at the same time, the school also has an effect on those who practice, raising awareness of new, a feeling that perhaps before it was hidden away under layers of indifference or cynicism. The truth hidden behind these actions is that quite often the greater power of transformation lies in our willingness to be vulnerable and to show that we are all human. We feel that we made a mistake, but also we have the courage to start all over again. This is a game of decisions and emotions. That is the real strength of those who want to make a difference. When we open to this vulnerability and create a bridge to the invisible but very strong with those who cross our path, and that bridge is able to provide stories of hope, of resilience, of courage. The day of those who invest in this type of connection is selected by the revelations contained. Learn about yourself, about what really matters to you, about the impact that our actions can spawn more than we think. Along the way, we have found that the secret is not just in the big gestures, but in the consistent, to the authenticity of each and every decision that we make. Because each decision making, as small as it may seem, it is a very important part in the construction of the long-term impact. This is the sum of small efforts, which has the power to change the world, to create a narrative of hope that it spreads like a chain, invisible but still powerful. And in it, we also learned about the importance of maintaining an open-minded, to be aware of behind the scenes in this story. After all, a lot of times, the greater the revelation is hidden in the details, in the way that you respond to our actions, and in the subtlety of life shows us that all of it makes sense, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. It takes courage to look beyond the obvious to see the opportunity hidden in every challenge, in order to understand the decisions that we make today may be the basis for a transformation that will impact generations to come. For this reason, each and every step of this journey is an opportunity to grow, learn, and connect in a way that's more true to the world around us. When we take on that responsibility, you start to see the impact that we want to generate, not only for the big events or fiery speeches, but the sum of our actions every day. Thus, the transformation makes it a seamless experience and a search for authenticity and purpose. And that leads us to understand that, deep down, we're all part of a bigger story, one of hope, strength, and love. It is in the realm of possibilities that we have found the very strength to carry on, knowing that each one we touch it, the seed of a better world. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of transformation, is not only about the external changes or the small face of the key. It involves having a real connection with who we are at the very core, the essence of what often lies hidden beneath layers of fear, self-doubt, or the expectations of others. It is at this point that we begin to realize that the greatest revolution that takes place within, in the silence of our decision-making, individuals, and that each step is taken in this sense, the echoes in the universe around us, creating a chain of impact that goes above and beyond what we could ever imagine. The truth is hidden behind so many of the stories of success and failure is often what prevents us from moving forward. It's not a lack of talent, resources, and support, but it is a narrative of the built-in limit, to a voice that whispers that you are not able to, that the world is unjust, or that the timing will never be perfect. This is the narrative which was established as a kind of belief system, casting our actions, our choices, and therefore our reality. And herein lies a reflection on the powerful if we can create our own stories so that you don't rewrite the ones that trap. Why not turn a roadmap to defeat a story of triumph and hope? At this point, a lot of people are beginning to understand that a change in mindset is the first step to a true transformation. one that goes beyond the superficial, and it goes to the very heart of who we are. It's as if, when you adjust the lens through which we view the world, you have to realize the possibilities where there were no obstacles. And this change in perspective is not something that happens overnight. It takes courage, self-discipline, and an array of genuine and confront their own shortcomings. It is a journey of self-discovery, dive deep into our emotions and our desires ourselves, and to confront that inner dialogue, which is often more cruel than any hardship on the outside. To understand that our choices shape our destiny, we can begin to realize the impact we can make in the lives of those around us. An act of courage, every encouraging word, every action, of authenticity. It's like a seed that germinates in the other's hearts, feeding a stream of the transformation that multiplies exponentially. The truth is that when we're aligned with our essence, we have become the instrument of change, able to cause a wave of hope in a world that too often seems to be so tired and out. In this connection, the purpose, the search for meaning, it gives us strength to overcome those moments of doubt and to resist the temptation of complacency, because we all know that the journey is more than just a route for the individual. He or she is part of a larger story, a story of strength, love, and authenticity. For this reason, it's critical that the people to understand that the transformation is not a straight line, but it's a winding road, full of highs and lows, discoveries and setbacks. With every step, however small it may seem, it is a critical piece in the puzzle that we are putting together. And at the same time, this journey reveals our true priorities are, what is really important, and a lot of times it is hidden away under the weight of the routine or the expectations of external stakeholders. It is in the process of self-discovery that we find the strength to move forward even when the path seems uncertain or challenging. And as the journey unfolds, we begin to realize that the transformation is not just a change in behavior, but it is a revolution in the way of seeing the world and themselves the same. This is a change of mindset that causes us to be more aware of the impact of the choices we make, which is an incentive for us to work with more purpose and integrity. From this understanding, it all takes on a new meaning. The obstacles become opportunities for growth, and the difficulties are no longer the obstacles cast in stone, and will be the challenges to be faced boldly. The hope is, rather, a feeling of capability, becomes a friend and constant. A force is that which compels us to keep going, even when everything seems to be against us. And in this connection, the potential that resides in each and every one of us is the one that actually changes lives. Because deep down, the biggest revelation is that we are all capable of creating a new story, to write a story that will inspire others to also believe in the change. And in doing so, we have begun to understand that the journey is not only about achieving the goals of the outside, but also about to find out who our true selves and how we can contribute to a more just, loving, and aware of it. Every decision, every reflection, every action that is aligned with this in mind, it is a seed of hope that fuels the global transformation starting from the inside out. So, as long as this new understanding is established in our hearts, it becomes clear that the real power lies in the courage to own up to who we are, accept our faults, and move forward with authenticity. Because, at the end of the day, the greatest change happens when you decide to be loyal to the core, even in the face of chaos, questions, or opinions of others. It is in this space of vulnerability and the courage to find you the power to transform not only our history, but to the whole of the narrative and the world around us. And in it, we find that as we become more aware of who we are and the impact we can make, we take the first step on the path to a journey of change, which, once begun, will never end. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation starts exactly at the point of departure, that we've decided to look beyond what has always been taught. It's at that moment that our way of thinking, and it shows as in a lens, powerful, able to reset up all around us. The journey of change, it's not just about outward actions or the results to be visible, but above all, an internal revolution, which happens silently, often without being noticed right away. It's as if, when we allow ourselves to face our own shadows, we find a never-failing source of the courage to rewrite our history. And it is this courage, for his part, is acting as a catalyst for the transformation more profound than the echo behind the scenes of our mind, and changing your thought patterns, limiting beliefs and decisions, which before seemed to be permanent. Think about the truth hidden behind our own choices. It's an exercise in self-awareness that many of the times we are not scared because it requires that we face that we would prefer to ignore. But in doing so, we begin to realize our vision of a world that was shaped by a combination of factors, both external and internal. That is, for the most part, they operate in a way that is invisible as the forces of the silent influence of each decision that we take. This revelation allows us to understand that, in essence, we are the creators of our own reality, even when we think that we are at the mercy of the external circumstances. On the basis of this understanding, everything changes, and we move to question, to reflect, and to seek a deeper understanding of the impact of the choices we make, not only in our own lives, but also for those that are around us. This is the awakening to the truth is hidden. It also brings out the responsibility that too often we don't want to accept it right away. The responsibility to take control of their own destiny, decide consciously who you want to be, and what path we want to go. And in the process, we have found that there is no magic trick or a shortcut. Only the persistence of a mindset that values authenticity and the courage to be vulnerable and a willingness to learn from your own mistakes. In the end, the real difference does not occur at one time or another, but it is an ongoing journey that requires dedication, patience, and above all, a genuine connection with our inner selves more fully. With each revelation, each made a conscious decision. It's a piece that fits you in our story of transformation, creating an impact that goes far beyond what we can imagine. And when you realize this, you begin to understand that change is not a matter of outward circumstances, but it is a question of the alignment of the internal and of a mindset that embraces the chance to live a full and authentic. And at this point, the day-to-day makes it all the more engaging as we look beyond the obvious and discover behind the scenes of what really stops us from moving forward. And at the same time, the energies, that is, we can turn to break through those walls as well. I know that all of this may seem challenging, but it is precisely because of this challenge lies the potential for transformation and long-lasting. After all, when we decided to dive deeper into the truth, we've stepped out of the shackles that limit us, and we are beginning a cycle that will never end. And while doing so, our story rewrites, one word at a time, and the power of the mind refreshed, and with a clearer picture of the impact that we can make the world around us. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen on the surface, it is rooted in our ability to look beyond the surface, to reveal all the layers are hidden in our own heart. It is at this point that we begin to understand that the decisions we make on a daily basis are like small bricks, build a new reality, one that reflects what you really are, not for what the world throws at you, or that you are the insecurities they insist on making you believe. This is a journey of discovery. That is, in fact, it's a sort of break from the patterns, as a kind of liberation. It is about having the courage, yes, but also a genuine desire to know you in a deeper way. After all, how we can change the impact we have on the world, and if we still have within us a version that is deformed to who you really are. That's where the truth hides starting to come to the surface, often in a disguised doubts, fears, or try to have a routine that we consume without realizing it. The key is to understand that change is not something that happens all of a sudden. It's an ongoing process, a kind of dance between what we are and who we want to be. And in this move, and every decision that we make, whether it makes you a chance alignment of a chance to adjust to the root of getting to what we do in the service of our essence, is pure. When you start to realize that the choices we make daily that have a direct impact on our evolution, it's clear, even in the small actions that seem to be insignificant. After all, it is the sum of them in the form of a mosaic of features, an accurate portrayal of our way of thinking, and the level of commitment we have to our own journey of transformation. It's as if, when you open your eyes to the truth that is hidden, have a look also to the behind the scenes with our own emotions, and those which we often sabotage without realizing it, and that, for the most part, they are related to the fear of not being good enough, or that we won't be able to. And at this point, we begin to understand what the change actually requires us to face those fears head-on. Let us free ourselves from the bonds which hold us to the old memories. Because the truth is, as much as we try to escape or to deny all the things that you didn't continue to exercise an influence on the silent shape our choices and limit our ability to pay. From that moment on, we decided to look into it with sincerity. It changes everything. We understand that you are solely responsible for the impact we leave on the world, and who, on assuming such responsibility, we have been able to create a new narrative, a story that is reflected in our ever-expanding. And if you make this choice, we have opened a space for transformation to a more profound, in that it not only changes our way of thinking, but it also connects us to a greater truth, a spirit that transcends the limitations of day to day. It is at this point that everything started to make sense in the journey of not getting responses to the external, but also about to find out what's really lurking inside each and every one of us, the things that many times we choose not to face the fear of change. When we got back, this move from self-awareness, everything becomes clearer and lighter in weight. The authenticity comes across as a light that shines on our path and helping to dispel the shadows of the past and create a new reality, which is based on the courage to be who you really are. And then, when you see that deep emotional connection, it is clear that the transformation is not a destination, but a way of living a mindset that is renewed each and every decision, every step taken with intention and awareness. And so, the journey of change, it becomes more than a search for improvements to the surface. She is transformed into an opportunity to really make an impact on the world around us, starting from the inside of us. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line because that is exactly the essence of this type of connection, which is often found in the true key to the transformation. The truth is hidden that few realize is that it all begins with the way we think about our own decisions, in our behind-the-scenes to internal. In life, many times it gives us a range of choices each day that seem to be a small, almost insignificant, but which in fact have a huge impact on our journey of growth. It is those decisions that shape our way of thinking, reinforce or challenge your limits, build or destroy our self-confidence. And when you understand it, you start to realize that the change is not a one-off event, an achievement that happened at one time or another, but rather a continuous process. It is a real art to adjust our plans and actions to for each day. When you look at the behind the scenes of our minds, we were able to see the patterns that are repeated, often in the form of the unconscious. These patterns, which may appear to be harmless at first glance, in truth, they carry the force of an impact is silent in shaping our emotions and our responses to, and, as a result, some of our choices. This is where it comes to the importance of having a growth mindset, one that is not looking for perfection but constantly evolving. This mind is like a lens that allows us to see, in addition to the difficulties perceived, by realizing the opportunities hidden in each of the challenge. When we look at our decisions in this new approach, it is easy to understand that the real power lies in the awareness that we are in the present moment, in the ability to recognize our own faults and without judgment, and the courage to start over again whenever you need to. And speaking of impact, it is crucial to understand that our actions have a ripple effect. With each change, each of the conscious attitude, the echo in our daily lives, and, by extension, the lives of the people around you, the journey of transformation. So this is not just an individual, but as an opportunity to have a positive impact on the environment in which we live. Peer pressure, too many times, it happens quietly, by way of example, the authenticity and self-discipline. When we commit ourselves to live with purpose, we attract experiences that are aligned with our true essence, creating a virtuous cycle of growth that feeds off of our own making. However, it is important that we don't fool ourselves. This transformation is about having the courage to face up to the truth it hides many times to avoid them. It calls for an attitude of humility, recognizing that we still have a lot to learn and to improve it. It is at this point that the day-to-day makes for a richer, more real, because we understand what we are building, and that change is a constant, and that this dynamic is the one that gives meaning to our journey. When we take on that responsibility, you start to realize that every moment is a chance to rewrite our history and to redefine our boundaries, and creating a new narrative that is based on authenticity and purpose. For this reason, the transformation should not be seen as a final destination, but as an attitude of life, and a mindset that embraces the imperfection as part of the process, and that it is understood that each and every decision, however small it may seem, it has the potential to open the doors to a new reality. And, in doing so, we discover that the real power lies in our ability to maintain the clarity of what truly matters, even in the face of difficulties, and to look for those little revelations that drive us forward. These are times of reflection and self-discovery that is more than a technique or a strategy, leading to more profound changes to the achievements of the more genuine ones. At this point, it is clear that the journey of transformation is an adventure built, with a dip in constant. In fact, it hides what lies within each and every one of us. And then, when you explore these behind the scenes to internal, we have become more and more aware of the impact that our choices that you can generate, not only in our history, but in the history of those who are next to us. It is in the continuous stream of self-discovery and growth, which we find in the very essence of life, influenced by the decisions that are aligned with our deepest values, by a mindset that embraces learning, and above all, a renewed courage to move forward, always striving for a better version of yourself. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that we seek. It doesn't just happen overnight, and a lot of the time it is not a radical change, but rather a series of small actions that, when added together, to create a long-lasting impact. This is a journey of self-discovery, and reveals that every decision we make, however small it may seem, it has a huge weight in the construction of our journey. It's as if we're framing our story with choices that reflect our inner truth, our aspirations to more honest. And in the process, you start to realize that a lot of the limitations that we believe to have was, in fact, the barriers that are created by the mind, which has been growing stronger over time, often fueled by deep-seated beliefs, the fear of the unknown, or even a resistance to failure. When you immerse yourself in the universe of possibilities, we see that our true freedom lies in the ability to challenge those beliefs, to challenge the status quo that has been imposed on, and to be open to a new perspective. This is a change of mindset, is the one that really sets someone who stays in the comfort zone of those who decide to come out of it, even if that path is unclear. It is at this point that the whole is this: when we understand that the power to change our reality, that is above all, the attitude, the courage to face the unknown, and to learn from their mistakes. Because you are, in essence, the error is not the opposite of success, but rather an essential part of it. This is the error that you have found the best lessons that we have learned to adjust our tours, and that we build our resistance is felt. And then comes in with a concept that a lot of people still find it difficult to assimilate, the idea that the truth is hidden, often in the narrative that we tell ourselves, of course. How many times do we allow ourselves to be carried away by stories, or both, which is to say that we will not be able, and that we do not have the talent, or the world is against us? In these stories, most of the time, they are constructions built that they can be deconstructed, and a new approach, a new mindset, growth. When we were able to see, in addition to those versions are warped our own history, we open the space for transformation to a true and lasting impact on not only our choices, but also the way in which we view the world and the people around you. And in this game, the discoveries, the behind the scenes of our mind, that is not on the field of battle, that is quiet, where you fight in a war at all times, our questions and our self-confidence. It is in the internal space of the house that we've decided if we're going to move forward, or if we're going to retreat in the face of fear, and if we're going to build our self-esteem, or if you will succumb to the insecurity. The more we work with this perspective, the more we realize that the journey of self-development is not linear, but is filled with highs and lows, moments of clarity, and you have any questions. And that's okay, because it is precisely this variation that we find our common humanity, our vulnerability. That is, when you accept and worked on, it turns on the power. I want you to imagine for a moment the impact of a compromise of the truth in the transformation. How would your life be if every decision had to be based on an alignment of knowledge of who you really are? How do you feel when you see that? Rather than seeking outside, you find the strength in your own truth. These questions, while simple, has the potential to open the doors to a new version of yourself, one that is not afraid to make mistakes, which means that a journey of growth, it is made up of small steps, but constant, and that each and every one of them is the opportunity to rediscover, reinventing itself. And it is at this point that we begin to understand the true impact of a growth mindset, an attitude which values them on the process and not just the end result. Because deep down is the most important thing is not to get to your destination once and for all, but to enjoy each and every step, each of the learning process, every time a new discovery that we make along the way. This one is a beauty on a journey of self-discovery. It teaches us that we are works in the building. That is, we can always rewrite your story, no matter how hard it has been to previous page. And in doing so, we have become the protagonists of a story that it is up to us to change it into something amazing. If you take the time to think about it, you will realize that all of this change, it begins on the decision to look within, to face your own truth, and to be ready for a challenge, all the things that limit your potential. Because after all, the true transformation is born out of the courage to be themselves, to embrace their vulnerabilities, and to understand that growth is not a straight line, but it's a roller coaster ride of emotions, learning, and discovery. And each and every step on this trail is the perfect opportunity to connect more deeply with who you really are as a way to strengthen their understanding of the winner and build a life that is truly meaningful to you. For this reason, when you set out on this journey, remember that the greatest impact, it is your decision to keep on going, even when things seem uncertain or challenging. It is in this movement of resistance and hope that you will reveal your true strength. And then, over time, you will notice that this power doesn't come from the outside, but the inside of your ability to believe in his own transformation, to be faithful to the Spirit, as well as to make choices that are aligned with your deepest truth. He comments that it makes no sense to me. And it is precisely at this point of the strength that we get to find out what has always been hidden and often silent, but it beats strong within ourselves, our true selves. When we are faced with difficulties, when it all seems to fall apart around us, it is in this chaos that we have the opportunity to connect with who you truly are, without masks, without the expectations of external stakeholders. This deep connection is what fuels our courage to move forward, even when the path seems dark or filled with obstacles apparently insurmountable. It is as if, while going through these hard times, most of us were to become free from the bondage of fear, of doubt, of the views of others, and it began to appear more authentic. Over the course of the journey, we have realized that this is the force that keeps us going, is not something that comes from outside of an incentive for current or motivation is fleeting, but a continuous power which is born of the recognition of our own history, our scars and victories. This is the force that drives us to make choices that are more in line with our core values, with what you truly believe in, even if it means walking against the wind or to challenge the status quo. And in fact, it is the courage to follow your own truth that makes all the difference for our transformation. Every decision you make, from a more in-depth understanding of who we are, it's like a seed planted in our journey of growth. In the process of self-awareness, we can begin to understand the impact of our actions go far beyond what we can imagine at first. Every little decision, every action, of fidelity to the core, the echo and the influence of not only our history, but also the lives around us. It is like a string. An invisible transformation begins inside of us and radiates to the outside world, thus creating a domino effect of positive change. This understanding makes us realize that our choices have the power to shape our own destiny, to create a story that is truly our own, without the need to fit in the mold of pre-established or expectations that are not resonate with all of our experiences. However, it is not always easy to maintain this posture of loyalty to one's own truth, especially in the face of social pressures and of the opinions of others or of his own insecurities who continue to arise. This is where you enter the force to be silent, almost as if it were a whisper of procedure that reminds us about the how and why of it all. This memory is in a constant invitation for us to stay strong even when everything seems to be against us. And when you do that, you start to realize that the real impact of our way that is not only in the achievement of the objectives of the external, but the internal transformation in the evolution of who we are, our growth mindset, and the ability to turn challenges into learning experiences are valuable. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this connection to the core of it is not something that happens in an hour or so to the other one. It requires dedication, patience, and a willingness genuinely get to know each other better each day. It is a process of self-discovery that reveals our own truths to the most hidden ones, and often hidden beneath layers of fear or doubt that we have been accumulating over time. As we move forward in this way, we can begin to understand that true transformation is not something that is external, which can be purchased or gained at once, but it's an ongoing journey of rediscovery and reaffirmation of our authenticity. And, along the way, we learn that every decision is a conscious, and each of the time of resistance is crucial to commit to this new phase of discovery and personal growth. This is a journey of self-discovery also reveals a behind-the-scenes of your own soul and to the details that often go overlooked in the hectic routine of day-to-day. These are the details of what, when seen, to pay attention, to show us just how much we are able to reinvent themselves, overcoming the limitations, and create a new narrative for your life. It's as if when we dive deep in our history and discover a hidden strength that was always there, just waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And with that revelation, we come to understand that the transformation is not a one-off event, but a building on a daily made up of little deeds, of the choices that are aligned with the truth of the thoughts that enhance our way of thinking and growing. As you explore such scenes, we have also started to realize that the impact of that journey is not confined to the U.S., but it influences your network of opportunities all around us. Each and every step that we take in the direction of the authenticity and opens the door to new opportunities for connections to be genuine and to a life more fully. And it is precisely at this meeting, as with all of our experiences, that we have found the freedom to be who we truly are, without masks or masks of social, and will often try to limit us. This is freedom. This is the one that allows us to act with more light, more confident, and most of all, love yourself. After all, when we are in alignment with our truth, and everything around you takes on a new meaning, a new color, a new approach that turns the hook into a real journey of discovery, continued. As I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that the quest for authenticity is a real revolution in the house. A revolution that begins in the decision to look within, listen to your desires, and accept your own vulnerability, and above all, to focus on our conversion rate. It is a process that requires courage, yes, but also a huge dose of hope and faith in our ability to evolve and to reinvent yourself and create a life that truly reflects who you are. In fact, this is the essence of the journey, and when you understand it, there is a feeling of immense freedom, a force that drives us to keep moving forward regardless of the obstacles that may come up. Because deep down, we know that it is in our deeper truth. That is, the transformation begins from the inside to the outside, and that each step is taken with the authenticity of it is a step in the direction of living a full and meaningful life. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the perception of what true transformation is born from the inside out. This is one of the biggest revelations that we experience on our journey. Many times we look for changes in the external solutions, the results of which can be perceived by others, but we forget that the real impact, it begins in our minds, in our lives, the way we see the world and ourselves. It's as if we're in front of a mirror which reflects not only the appearance but also the beliefs, fears, and deepest desires. And when you look at the sincerity for this reflection, we can begin to understand what it really is in need of attention, care, and above all, the courage to change it. The transformation is, in a sense, it is a journey of self-discovery, a journey that quiet, sometimes lonely, but it's incredibly powerful. When you understand that every decision we make, every thought of what you eat has the potential to shape who we are, it changes everything in perspective. We do not become victims of their circumstances, and we, the authors, are aware of our own history. This change in mindset requires an honest look at our limitations, but also a huge dose of compassion for yourself. After all, to recognize our weaknesses is the first step to overcoming it. And this is of a truth that hides a lot of people still ignore. The power of a man is not the absence of trouble, but in his ability to turn every challenge into an opportunity for growth. And that's what's important to understand, the behind the scenes of the transformation. Each and every decision and every small act of courage in each moment of reflection and is a key player in the jigsaw puzzle that makes up our development. It is not an instant change, a kind of magic, but it's an ongoing process of aligning with the things that really matter. And in doing so, we begin to realize that our life will have more meaning, more impact, more of a connection with who we really are. This is a journey of self-transformation that reveals the hidden truth that often remain hidden beneath the surface of their daily routine, and when to find them, and our vision for the world grows in an astonishing way. On the other hand, this change also reveals a behind the scenes of your mind, where you are often deep-rooted limiting beliefs, fears, old and routines that are in the trap. It is as if it were a battle for the silent, an internal war between what we have been taught to believe and what our soul really wants. In this conflict, and that has made all the difference, is the courage to question, to challenge, to these old stories, and to be open to a new story, in a narrative that speaks of freedom, authenticity, and self-confidence, and a much deeper connection with the one that's most true in all of us. In the process, we discover that strength comes from overcoming the moment, but a reconstruction of the daily small choices that, added together, to create a real revolution in the countryside. And it is precisely at this point that many people miss, because they are waiting for a big event on a quick response time. But the truth is concealed. This is the transformation to a more long-lasting that happens in detail on the actions we take in your routine, is in the small decisions that seem to be insignificant, but, in essence, helps to shape the person we become. When you learn to appreciate those moments of introspection, reflection, and action in alignment with our core values, we set out to build a new reality, more real and more in tune with our inner selves. This is a journey that requires patience, self-discipline, and above all, a genuine desire to improve. Because, at the end of the day, the real change is a daily choice and a constant renewal of the commitment that we make to ourselves. And in the process, one thing becomes clear: you're not alone in this journey. Each and every one of us carries the stories, the pain, the dreams, and the lessons that are woven together to form a huge mosaic of possibilities. And we believe that this sharing of experiences is key. We begin to see beyond your own navel. We are beginning to see the impact that our actions have on the lives of others, the community, and the world. And that perception is to be a catalyst for folks to engage further. Cultivate a mindset of growth, hope, and transformation is a continuous process. After all, it is the real journey is not just about achieving a goal late on, but it's someone who lives by their values are most important to you, someone who inspires him and lets himself be inspired by the behind the scenes of the evolution of. And it is this very deep connection to our truth which enables us to take the next steps in this journey. Because when you understand that change starts from within, we become more and more aware of the power that we need to have a positive impact on the world around us. And at the same time, we are freed of the burden of seeking external validation or trying to appeal to everyone. Authenticity becomes our best ally, and of the impact that we can make is in proportion to the courage to be true to ourselves. So this change is no longer a distant goal, and it is a fact of everyday life in a way that it only moves forward as we open to revelation that life has to offer, even during times of the most challenging. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I identify with the journey of self-discovery and stay true to who you are." And you know what? This is a very important step, because they recognize the power within yourself is that it makes all the difference in the time to move on. So, if that kind of content, it made sense to you, leave a like it here, because it can help strengthen the connection that we created in the course of the movie. It is a way of showing that your thoughts are touching you in some way, and that's pretty special. Oh, and if you're still haven't subscribed to the channel, here is a hint. Here, we seek to share the content that will help you to better understand who who we are and to live in a way that is more authentic. So if you feel that this kind of conversation makes no sense for her to walk, take this time to register. So you can stay up to date with everything that lies ahead of you and don't miss out on any news that might help you out even more. Before you move on to the next video, I want to invite you to leave a comment below saying something like, "I'm with you till the end," or "It was for me." Therefore, we are unable to change an idea to create a community that fosters the search for authenticity. It's always nice to know that we are not alone in the process, right? And speaking in a resume, there's a video right here on the side which complements this subject in a good light, and it can help you to dig deeper in this discussion. You click there, you still with me there, and let's go together on this journey of growth. The next step is always an opportunity to learn and connect more with who you really are. See you soon.